Well, this is rough. Jonathan Isaac, torn ACL. All injuries suck, but for whatever reason, this one, just feeling it a little bit more. Don't know why. I've, of course, been very high on Jonathan Isaac. His size, his athleticism, his defensive fundamentals, and all that. And now we have this. And there's a few things to talk about between his timeline, and while it also sounds kind of inhumane in a way to talk about, we do have to discuss his contract because that's up after next season, and that matters in this whole thing, Truthfully, I'd prefer to not talk about this at all, but there's no way that I can't discuss this. It's a significant thing that happened in the NBA, you know what I mean? So, the first thing to talk about would be the timeline. So, the quickest ACL return I can think of is Zach LaVine, who came back in 11 months. Porzingis, it was like a year and a half, or it might have been even longer than that. So, we'll be on the optimistic side. We'll say 1 year. We'll say it takes Jonathan Isaac a year to be playing basketball again. The problem is, it's frickin' August, which is, that's not normal. And the following NBA season from now is scheduled to end in June, which means there's a decent chance we're just not going to see Jonathan Isaac at all next season. In fact, it's pretty much a 100% chance because June is just for the finals. And the Magic are not going to be in the finals next year unless some insane things happen in the next couple of months. So, basically, it's going to be a while before we see Jonathan Isaac again. And when you project just the effect that this can have on him, he's had quite a few lower body injuries at this point. He had the really bad ankle sprain that kept him out of most of his rookie year. He had the knee injury before this on the same knee. And now, of course, we're talking the torn ACL. And the thing that was scary, too, was the way it happened. It was a non-contact thing, which, the Derrick Rose comparison has been made already. And, when you're talking about a 6'11 guy who moves as fast and jumps as high as Isaac does and just turns his body as much as he does, he's way more athletic than a normal 6'11 guy. It's kind of scary to think that this might just be something that's going to be tough to overcome for him. Now, it's certainly not impossible. I don't want to go there. But it's unfortunately something to think about. And if we think about Porzingis and his torn ACL, it took him a long time to get back on the court. And even when he did, he didn't look awesome. Porzingis kind of got it going towards the end of the season. Then we had the long break. But, there's a chance that even when Isaac's back, he's not looking great immediately. So I think that's something to just remember. Is it wild to think that Orlando might manage Isaac's minutes or something when he eventually comes back? I don't know. But speaking of Orlando, we've got to talk about them a little bit. This certainly really hurts them for next year, definitely. This is a team that keeps on trying to take the next step. And, they certainly saw Isaac as a guy who could lead them in that direction. I know Orlando's not the most exciting team in the league, so I don't want to talk about this for too long, but Steve Clifford's done a decent job of having good defensive teams, even if the players themselves are not awesome defensively. They didn't fall off a cliff when Isaac was out, so they could maintain themselves there. I guess this does open up opportunity more so for someone. Could be Wes Iwundu. I don't know if he's really a power forward. He's 6'6", but he's a wing player. And between Gordon and Isaac and, mainly those two, I feel like the wing position was a little tough to really get in the rotation with Orlando. The dream of the Isaac Bamba frontcourt is going to be on hold for a little bit now, too. What does this mean for Aaron Gordon? Does this potentially mean Orlando wouldn't want to move him now? Maybe. I think the prospect of Isaac made Gordon a little more expendable. I do feel a little gross talking about the business side of this, but again, these are conversations that kind of need to be had now. And now it's time for the big one, which is Isaac's extension. His contract is up after next year, but he is extension eligible after this season. between us not knowing what the salary cap is going to look like that far out. On top of this now, I don't know, man. You could convince me of anything. Would Orlando give him like a $15 million a year offer sheet? Kind of similar to what the Spurs gave DeJounte Murray? I think when the Bulls signed Zach LaVine after he was still coming back from injury, I believe they gave him, what was it, $18 million a year? The Mavs maxed out Porzingis. Now, that was a sign and trade and whatever else, but they clearly were not freaked out about his ACL injury. So, how are the Magic going to feel about all this? I don't know. I mean, if you force me to make a prediction, I feel like it's going to be in line with about what DeJounte got. I would imagine Orlando would hold on to Isaac. I mean, even with this, his potential is still so high, I wouldn't want to lose him. Now, is it possible that some other team would be so intrigued with what Isaac has going on that they would offer him like 20 to 25 million a year or so? I suppose it's possible. I guess there's another world in which Orlando could view some sort of sign and trade situation as the way to go. I mean, a lot of this also depends on just their relationship with Isaac over the next year and whatever months. I mean, by all accounts, seems like he and the front office are on good terms. So hopefully that all goes well, and hopefully we get to see Isaac again in probably the 2021/2022 season. And let's hope by 2023, Jonathan Isaac is back and looking really awesome. And at that point, he'd be, 25 years old? Yeah, I mean, there's a chance that 25-year-old Jonathan Isaac is playing amazing defense and scoring at least like 16, 17 a game off a whole bunch of dunks and stuff. And we can just kind of forget that this ever happened. That's the hope. But as far as the Jonathan Isaac fan club is concerned, it's going to be a rough couple of years.